Hello, my sober lovelies. Before we dive in, I'm really excited to announce my group coaching program for women is live, and you can join now. So excited for this because let's be real here. Quitting drinking isn't just about saying no to the glass of wine or booze. It's about what comes after. All the fear, the boredom, the late night anxiety, and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And that's where my Rewired Sober group coaching program for women comes in. It's only $247. I'm being totally transparent on the price. It's for 3 months, and you'll learn how to shift your mindset, build habits that actually stick, and question the core beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, and find healthier ways to deal with that loneliness and that now what feeling. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. We'll have live group coaching sessions weekly, and there'll be a bunch of women walking through it with you. It's not another cookie cutter sobriety program for mommy vloggers. It's neuroscience meets real life, and it's designed for women to help you not just stay sober, but actually feel good living sober. You can join anytime, and I'd love to see you on the inside. So start today, get instant access. The link's in the show notes. Hey there, and welcome to You've Been Selected. I'm your host, Kate Vitella, and something tells me you didn't just stumble across this podcast by accident. Maybe, just maybe, you've been called here, like selected by the universe for something more. So let's get started. Okay, welcome back to another episode of You've Been Selected. I'm your host, Kate Vitella. Ooh, little scratchy voice this morning, this afternoon. Big sober night out last night. I'm hoping to record an episode on that. We had a big tribute concert. Today's guest is Beate Pilgreen. She is a decluttering and organizing coach who also helps sober women create calm, clutter-free homes, supporting lasting recovery. Originally from Germany, she moved to the U.S. over 30 years ago on what she calls a geographic. Sober since 8/13/13, Beate discovered her purpose in helping others to simplify their lives and find clarity through organizing. Over the years, she's guided hundreds of women through the process of letting go and creating space for what truly matters. A divorced mom of 2, she knows firsthand what it means to rebuild with courage, clarity, and independence. Outside of work, she enjoys word puzzles, beach walks, weight training, and travel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here with you. And I did look you up as well, and I adore you. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was hoping that when we got started here, you could just tell the audience a little bit about your story. Your bio mentions you originally coming from Germany.
Yeah. So I came from Germany when I was about 25, and I was breaking up with a boyfriend. And I thought the best way to break up with him would be going pretty far. And I have an uncle in Atlanta, so I asked him if I could come for 3 months because I thought that would be probably the time I need to break up with him because I come from a small city, small village actually, and we would always kind of get back together. So that's in a nutshell how I came to the U.S. My uncle said, "Oh, you should go to California. You would totally love it." And I did go, and I loved everything about it. I love the beach, lifestyle, being free, nobody watching me. And I think that's kind of when my alcohol abuse kind of got derailed. That's when I was able to drink as I wanted to, party as I wanted to. And it kind of, progressed from there, even though I think I kind of had a problem even before I came to the US, but it just got worse. So that's how I got to the US. And then from then on, it's been quite a struggle with the alcohol if we're just going by the alcohol angle, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I came by myself. I didn't have anybody here. I didn't know anybody here. It was very brave. Actually, if you told me today I should be doing this, or if I tell my kids that I came by myself here,
Yeah.
you just don't believe, it's just pretty unbelievable. I mean, even now looking back, it was pretty gutsy because I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have a work permit. I didn't have work. I have nothing. I didn't
Oh
even
my
speak the language that well. So it was like a dream, like on the spur of the moment. And it definitely was a true geographic that you talk about. You just want to get away. And I think that's really where the root was. I wanted to be somebody else. And
Yeah, I was gonna
did.
say. Yeah, you describe it in your bio as pulling a geographic, and I'm like, "That is a massive geographic." Like, that's like some next level shit there.
Yeah.
Are you in LA, in that
I
area?
am. I am. Yes.
Yeah.
Northeast LA, Glendale area.
I've
That's
often, fantasized about moving to LA, but that I can't even go from Washington to LA, much less, you
You
know,
look like a LA girl.
'cause well, today I'm wearing a Dodgers hat, and my husband is hating it because he is a San Diego Padres fan.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but, girls pick the hat out, like, if it goes with their outfit and it's
Of
cool.
course.
I mean, I don't even really watch baseball. It was just the closest hat nearby to cut my ratty hair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's an incredible story. I mean, even from the perspective of, just a life transition. You're here, you don't speak the language, you're trying to figure yourself out. And I think that's so interesting that that it doesn't even matter what country you're in, if your drinking is starting to creep up on you,
Mhm.
then it's like it's coming for you,
Coming with you. Yeah.
it's coming with you. Yes. So you got sober in 2013, so that's quite the
Yeah.
accomplishment. You've been sober for a while.
Yeah. The first time I got sober, it was in 96. And I was given an ultimatum by my first husband. And yeah, he said, either you get, you have drinking under control or, we're done. And that was even before the wedding. So I did, actually, we did get married and I did go to rehab and I stayed sober for a year, but the relationship didn't last. So I moved on to the next relationship right away, like we do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I met him in a 12-step program, you know, and I was married to this man for 20 years. It was not a good marriage to begin with, but we did have beautiful children, two beautiful children. And like I said, I've been struggling this whole time. It was on and off and on and off. I had 6 years of sobriety at one point, and I kind of gave it away because I didn't do the things that really kept me sober. And I lost that sobriety and it got worse. The drinking got worse. And I don't know how much you talk about drugs or alcohol or, how much I'm allowed to say.
You can say whatever you want.
Whatever I want. Okay. Well, I don't really want to talk about the 12 steps too much. I mean, it helped me. I just don't want to, it's an anonymous program, so I don't want to really get in. But I for 2 years I was making my own pot concoction, which I gotta say I hate pot, but I made this great concoction with sugar and cinnamon and butter. And you couldn't smell it, because it was in the freezer. And I just took a little thing and I did that for a couple years until I went out back on alcohol, really basically. And like I said, it just got worse. And yeah, so 11 years ago, I was really desperate. I mean, nothing worked. And I just kept trying one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. And somehow I strung the time together and with the help of a network of people around me, of course, all my friends are sober that are around me.
Yes.
Amazing. I mean, this life is incredible. We do stuff like you were saying, concerts and events and things, fun things we do in sobriety that I thought I could never have fun again. Once you get sober,
Yes.
I'm not the fun girl anymore. I'm not, the center of attention. I mean, naturally, I'm really kind of an introvert, so for me, the alcohol always helped me to go out of myself. And I thought, once the alcohol is gone, I don't have that at all anymore. But I was wrong. I was definitely wrong, and I'm very grateful that I actually found a life where I can be sober, have fun.
Yeah, I love that. And this episode wasn't even really so much about your story as it is
Sorry.
you for a living. I'm so glad that you talked about that because that's so incredible, and it's so many of our stories,
Yeah,
right? I last night I was at a 4-hour rock concert, and I never thought that in a sober life that would be my life, and even, I love what you said about, all your friends are sober because I now have such a tribe around me that
yeah.
every event I go to, I wore a "Stay Wild and Stay Sober" T-shirt last night, with my jewelry, and I was rocking out, and even the bartender was like, "Rad shirt, like, you go."
Oh,
And I have a life I couldn't have dreamt of. I really do. So, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I like to say we can talk about anything, we can swear, because I want this to just be an open space, and I really want it to be like a friend in your ear when you're, going through it, no matter what
yeah.
part of the journey you're on. So, let's talk about what you do for work.
But I do. Okay. So
Yes.
talking about that 20-year marriage, I was a stay-at-home mom. I really didn't have a career or anything going for me. And I was looking for something that I could be doing once I, you know, leave this man. And I started looking, and one of my friends on Facebook, she was looking for an assistant as a professional organizer. And I had no idea that something like that even existed. Never heard of it. I coming from Germany, everybody does their own stuff. Everybody organizes and keeps things very tidy and clean. And I think I got that from my mom because she kept our house spotless and she did everything. So I kind of got to model after her, I guess. And I it was very easy for me. So I did answer to that ad from my friend, and I started assisting to other companies, professional organizing, and I got to learn the trade kind of as you go from the bottom up. And I it kind of snowballed. I started to work for several, like at one time, I worked probably like for 10 different organizers, and it's a small network. Everybody knows everybody, and some jobs need more people or assistant, and a lot of these women are one person companies, that now they're a little bit bigger, I would say. But yeah, I started to kind of jump around, and until I actually started my own company as well. And today I still help a couple of other organizers that have very fun projects, very, like a lot of celebrities and, sports celebrities and music celebrities and big mansions, big projects, lots of people on the project, which is very fun, to work on a big mansion and just take that whole house apart, or move somebody from one house into the other. So while doing this, I learned a lot about the business. And for my own personal business, I attracted a lot of sober women, and I started to notice a pattern. Like a lot of sober women, they either haven't learned how to declutter and organize, or they just need a little guidance, or they kind of like got sober and they kind of lost themselves. And I have a few clients now that they just they have me come back in different parts of the house. And right now I'm kind of in a weird transition state as well because I am doing one-on-one. I actually show up in a person's home and I do the organizing myself. But I want to kind of transition into the coaching era, where I want to reach more people than just one-on-one. I want to help like a whole army of sober women, like I want to get in touch with other sober women through digital products or, whatever, however I can reach them from the online space.
Yeah.
So that's how it's developing right now.
I love that. I just developed my first digital course called The Gut Check. Shameless plug for me. Because, yeah, we're very busy people, and I did want something that takes about an hour that you can do on your own time for people who are ready for a gut check. They're questioning their drinking, they're questioning their relationship with alcohol. And so, not to go on about me, but I get that. And it took a lot of time and effort and organization to get myself that far. But the reason that I wanted to have you on was, I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and I just thought, when I first got sober, decluttering, getting organized, cleaning out my physical space was really important to me, and I feel like it's an ongoing journey for me as the sober time progresses and as life progresses, right? We all have to go through phases where we spring clean, we edit, we clean out our closets, we organize things. But for me, it felt like so much more related to starting over.
Hmm.
And there was such a big emphasis on feeling comfortable and safe in my personal space. It was more than just dumping out the alcohol and removing the stupid little wine signs. And I even had a license plate cover around my car. I mean, it was more than just throwing out things,
Yeah.
the paraphernalia, the t-shirts. It was reclaiming my space. And
Yes.
so I thought, this woman is sober. She's out there doing it. I bet you are coaching in a lot of ways that you don't even realize it while you're helping people to organize and if even if they are present on the job site with you, they're probably learning a lot from you.
Definitely. I think it's a lot about letting go, like letting go of the physical stuff as well as the emotional stuff, kind of it goes together sometimes. Like sometimes we clutter ourselves with physical stuff and feel safe, but it also keeps us hostage. So yeah, definitely the emotional freedom that comes with decluttering is amazing. And me, my own personal story as well was when I had that divorce. I came from a big house and I moved into a small place, and I kept everything for my kids. Like every little thing that they drew on, or any little teddy bear and things. I mean, it was like massive amounts of stuff, right? And just because I had the space and I wanted to keep it, but now I had to downsize and I had to actually pick what I really, really love, and I only kept what I really love. And since I moved into this little place, I'm still at the same little place and I love it. I don't like all this stuff around me because it's weighing me down. Um, I even the people around me, they know I don't like stuff. They don't give me a lot of like stuff, like clothes or hand-me-downs. It's not so much that I'm better than that. It's more I have what I like. If I really need something, maybe I go out and get it, or if you have it and you want to get rid of it, I'll take it. But if I don't need it, I'm not just taking a bag of stuff just because you have it. Um, I just like the simplicity of life, just living a little bit more simpler and also seeing the consumerism that's going on in our society and the people that I work with, they just have so much stuff. It really doesn't mean anything. So for me, it's kind of, I got a little jaded with going shopping. I don't generally like going shopping, even though I used to love it, but I don't go hobby shopping anymore. It's very intentional and living is very conscious. And it's not just living for the stuff. It's just knowing what's important to you, what matters to you, and live that way for yourself. I a lot of times put a lot more emphasis on experiences than stuff. I'd rather go to a concert or go to a movie, or I like receiving flowers or something I can consume, chocolates or a nice dinner, but I don't like to stuff my house full of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from. But I do know that rituals and healthy behaviors are very important in sobriety. For me, it's very important to have a structure in my life. I mean, like a routine, morning routine and evening routine that gets me ready for my day or gets me ready to go to sleep. And it's very important to feel safe and secure through your rituals and your habits. And that's where the organizing and decluttering comes in.
You said something that was really interesting, and it really it hit home, like, uh, about letting go, and how much of that do you see playing into when people hire you for a job? Are you there to like, do you feel like you have to convince people to let go of stuff, or
Hmm.
to accept the project so that they can sort of free themselves of that baggage?
So it's a very fine line for a professional organizer that I do not tell them what they should let go or not at all.
Yeah.
I have them make their own decision. I let them decide. I give them time. Some people take longer time than others, to let something go. And sometimes it's funny, we start with a project and they're very picky about one little paper and they look at it forever. And then they kind of get into the rhythm and the mojo of letting go and they feel more confident about letting go. So at the end of the project, they're just they have the momentum of letting go. And so yeah, as a I do not want to tell them what to let go or what not because I don't see into their soul or what's really important to them. I don't want to tell them, oh, you should let this go or that go when later on they have regrets. And I don't want that. I think people need to do that on their own pace. So and sometimes it's slower and sometimes it's faster, and sometimes they have to go a second time around and now they can let go or a third time around, now they can let go more. So everybody has their own um, time that they go by, their own speed.
Yeah, we're talking about,
The onions, the layers of the onions, right?
yes, and I love how these 2 worlds collide when we're talking about this sort of physically and psychologically, decluttering, you know and I'm laughing because I'm looking on the Zoom camera screen at my room behind me, and it's like this maximalist nightmare of stuff, but all of it has been accumulated and organized in sobriety for me because it was important to me to have, a physical space where everything reminded me of my new life, but there is a lot of effort into keeping it very, very organized. Jewelry, clothes, work stuff, everything, books, so that I don't feel like my life is chaos, because physical clutter feels really chaotic to people. It's I mean, let's talk about how decluttering a space can really help reduce people's anxiety. I feel like I'm not sure if you come across that in your work, um,
Uh-huh.
like decision fatigue, overwhelm.
Yes, all of it. There was a few studies done by UCLA, Princeton study, U.S. Senate report in 2024, Reclaim Intervention Mississippi State. There was a few studies that were very interesting, and they found out that especially women are affected by the feeling of overwhelm and decision, having all the feelings that come with being cluttered. So I found that very interesting that it's mainly the women that are affected by that. And that could be because they are, a lot of responsibility lays on the women to keep the house tidy, unfortunately, So it possibly plays into that, you know. But yeah, it is definitely proven that there's mental noise, decision fatigue, low grade anxiety, or the overwhelm is all connected with clutter around you. And they had these studies that when you, even with older people, like when you reduce clutter in older people's home, they can focus more and they can, um, they function better. Performance is better in workplaces when you lower the clutter. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely scientifically proven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not and I have clients all the time. I had one client on Friday and she texted me and she said, I feel so good. I can't believe it. And we're only halfway through the project. I mean, she inherited a lot of from her father and her grandmother. And there's a lot of like stuff you inherit from people. And it's very hard to go through that, even though a lot of it might not even be something you want to hold on to it, but there's so much of it that it's so overwhelming to even look at one piece or one box. So we take everything out on tables and we kind of pre-sort everything like with like. So then they can go through all the books, or they can go through all the teddy bears, or they can go all or the notebooks or whatever it might be, electronics. There's a lot of stuff that's outdated or it doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of paper that needs to get shredded. There's boxes and boxes of paper, but it's taking over the room and robbing you of your serenity. So it's almost like you can breathe again. That's what she said. I feel so good. I can breathe again. It's amazing.
I love that. Everything you're saying is so closely related to there's such an overlap with getting sober and cleaning out spaces and like removing triggers and, calming our nervous system. And that it makes so much sense. I go back to caring for elder people in times of my career where I did like home health nursing and I would go into these homes that were it was clearly like hoarding to the point of it was like a psychological issue. I mean, it was beyond just and what I've learned about hoarding over the years is that it can be a grief response.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering what you've seen in that capacity. Like, are we holding on to things out of scarcity, grief, um, fear? What do you think about that?
I think a lot of it is rooted in fear, like that's like one of the main roots, I think.
Mhm.
And maybe the older people, they have been through the war still, like there are still people around that experienced the war. Like my father was very stingy, and he
Yeah.
held on to things. So I can still see that with older people that they think maybe, a worse time is going to come and we need that just in case, but it's way over the top. It's not just they don't hold on to, 10 things. They hold on to like 500 things, like should be holding on to. So it's definitely, and I have come across some hoarding situations and usually I don't work with hoarders that much because it does take a special there is special professional organizers that are specialized in hoarding, and they're very difficult clients to deal with. And not that I don't want to deal with them, but they don't really want you in their space. Only if they have to be forced. If they're forced, they get evicted because there's a fire hazard in the house, and you have to go in there and you take their stuff, and they're not happy campers.
Yeah.
It's a very hard situation to work with a hoarding situation.
Do you think it's kind of a control thing as well? I mean, sometimes when my life feels dysregulated, it's like control what you can, right? Like
Right.
keeping items or I mean, for me, organization is a control issue. It's
Mhm.
And I completely identify with what you said about, starting with clean spaces. Like women get really dysregulated when they're sitting in a cluttered environment. And maybe that's a patriarchal thing where because we have to clean, who knows? I guess I didn't even look into it that far, but for me, it's about control and remaining calm. It's way more than just, "Can I find my stuff?" You know?
Yeah, true.
Before I start an artistic project, like, before I started filming for this course that I was doing, I cleaned everything around me because I am not about to start on camera trying to convey some important topics with shit everywhere. Candles, pens, jewelry, old cards, leftover coffee mugs, tea bags, like, crap,
Right.
pretzels, crumbs, you know? Maybe I'm just a slob. That's
And by the way, I just want to say for the record, I love your little studio. I love your wall and all the cross and the paintings and the drawings and whatever you have up there. It speaks a lot about who you are, and I'm not a minimalist by any means either. I like to keep what's really dear and what's important to me as well. So don't think you're judged, please.
This room is the only room in my house that is excessive, and I think that's intentional. The rest of my home, I share with my husband, stepkids, and whoever else comes into our home, our dog. And so it's a lot more minimal, and it's white, and it's just small things in smaller spaces for the existence of a family. But
Yeah.
in this room, because it's my space, I got to paint the walls the color I wanted and collect the art that I wanted, and it is the room where it's the most inspiring for me to write or record or create, right? And my clothes are in here, and I do lots of episodes on fashion and style and how getting dressed is so helpful for me. But organizing my closet is a big part of that. Are you doing closets for people, or is that like a whole 'nother beast?
All the time. I actually love closets. That's like my specialty. Yeah. I love closets. I mean, we usually like I take everything out, if it's a big closet, you have to do it in stages. And for people that I coach, from my online space, I would say a lot of people should start small, like don't do a whole closet at once. It's just too much. Even for somebody that's experienced like me, I usually would say for a regular closet, I'll take two days, one for the hanging and maybe the second day for the dressers and the shoes and the accessories kind of thing. So depends on how your closet is laid out. But yeah, I would say, do it in stages. And it's funny because I know what you're going through with with the clothes or that it's important to you. I get that. But for me, once I started the organizing about 9 years ago, I started dressing like as a self-imposed uniform, black pants, black t-shirts. I have like 5 of the same black pants and I have 10 of the same shirts. And I just rotate them every day. There's no questioning of what I'm wearing for work. Now, if I go out and I wanna do something fun, that's a different story, and I will probably take a lot of stuff out and try different things on, and that's when things get messy. But, for me, my everyday, outfits for work is the same boring old thing. But I love it like that. But that's just me. But I always say whatever works for you need to work for you. So
Yeah. I can't imagine, if I wore the same outfits. I mean, I've been a nurse for what, 23, 24 years, and I think a lot of
yeah.
that involved wearing scrubs, and
Mm.
so that's a self-imposed uniform that is so damn ugly, by the way, like, it's so unflattering, but I think that because I have had that uniform, that on my days that I was not working as a nurse, I am, like, going for it,
Mm.
I'm wearing all the things. In fact, my husband calls my jewelry collection, King Tut's. So terrible. I have so much crap. But, How are you approaching it with people when you go into a closet to organize? It's completely overwhelming and they don't wanna get rid of anything.
Hmm. That's difficult, when they don't want to get rid of anything, then we just gotta make it neater and nicer. Just as we, like just putting things together like by like. We'll make some space, or maybe change the hangers if they're all different hangers or something, or come up with some alternative organizing products. There's usually a way of making it better. Somehow, some way.
I'm like, "What if people don't wanna get rid of their stuff? They're hoarders asking for a friend."
Yeah, I do have clients, and their shopping
Yeah.
way outweigh what they let go. Like
Yeah.
it's hard, and it's just they're paying with the price of being overwhelmed all the time, and it's almost like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Usually you're supposed to be able to shop in your own closet for the clothes you like. They should be very visible and available, and you can pick and choose. But if everything is so stuffed full that you can't find anything, and you just stuff things everywhere, then it's easier to just go to the store and buy a new one, buy a new set. And it just
Absolutely.
worse and worse and worse. So at some point they're gonna have to do something, because they're gonna run out of space.
Yeah. I feel that so much. If I have excessive amounts of stuff, it's almost like I end up smaller in my choices because
Yes.
I wear the same thing every day because it's so overwhelming to tackle the giant mess of the collection that I've built of vintage ties or collared shirts or random I go through these phases where it's like, I want tutus, and not so much anymore, like I've said on the podcast, I've really come to know myself and my style, and so I don't do that anymore. But I remember those phases where I just had too much crap and I couldn't decide, so I wore the same thing every day. And so that completely resonates with me, and these days in my sobriety, I find myself making a Goodwill run probably weekly where I'm cleaning out, editing, reducing, and I think it has something to do psychologically with the ability to let go, knowing that, the f it's almost like knowing that I'm safe in the future to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's I don't think it's scarcity because I really haven't gone through periods of time in my life when I went without, you know? But, I think the longer I've been sober, the more I realize I will have my own back. I am resourceful, I'm creative, I will work, I will, I'll source stuff. It's not I will never go without.
Yeah. It's that faith, that trust.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when you work with people, when you say coaching, what does that look like?
Well, the coaching is basically I am in the process of doing some digital downloads, as far as PDF style, but I also want to do some video coaching courses, like you were mentioning. So those are not recorded yet, but they're in my head.
In your head,
They're in
yes.
my head so far, and yeah. So watch out for those the next year or so, hopefully.
So if you could give our audience just maybe like a snippet of the kind of stuff that your content, because I imagine it's way beyond like buy some Amazon organizers and put all your stuff together, I mean,
Yeah.
what kinds of things are you talking about?
So it is, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, because a lot of people think there's like the solution, but the solution really is, most of the time, is of letting go. That's the number one tip that I can tell anybody that wants to have an organized home, is you need to declutter first. You cannot organize your clutter. It just doesn't work. If a client if I go in a home and a client is not willing to let anything go, it's just not gonna work out well. It's going to be tidier. It's going to be a tidy chaos, but it's not going to be a functioning home. So decluttering is really what this will be around. It will be a lot about letting go and how to let go and make it easier for people to let stuff go. You know.
Yeah, and I think about people in early sobriety, just the decision fatigue and all of the when I think about working with someone in early sobriety, I imagine you, like, going over to their house and saying, "Okay, we're cleaning out your life, right? We're reducing all the triggers related to alcohol, and then we're also forming clean lines and clean open spaces that help your mind settle a bit, and stay present on where you're at right now, like that mental calm. Because in early sobriety, everything is so overwhelming and so triggering, and I know people are disorganized all throughout their sobriety. It's
Yeah.
or not, right? This doesn't have to be just for sober people, but
Mhm.
this really like, I guess because it's like you see in the movies when the main character decides to get sober, then all of a sudden they're cleaning up their space. They're
Yeah.
cleaning out their car, their house, and that's what it reminds me of. So that visually, energetically, what you're settling on, what you're focusing on around you, it's like calm. You can take a deep breath, and move forward.
Almost symbolic. It's symbolic of your freedom of letting go.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about ritual. And
Hmm.
because ritual's huge for me
Yeah.
in my sobriety, in my life. Like, I do the same things. I prepare my coffee the night before, I have my snacks, I never go to bed with my personal office space messy. I do have a lot of rituals.
Yes.
Um,
And that's basically what I want to enforce in those, in those courses, that
yeah,
rituals are very important in sobriety and just helping to enforce those rituals and healthy habits, instead of unhealthy habits or even friendships, letting go of unhealthy friendships and, digital clutter. I mean, it goes in a lot of areas of our lives,
for
these,
sure.
where things that are so overwhelming and in your mind all the time. You're constantly bombarded by having to make some decisions in some way or another. And I just notice even with me that I'm almost sometimes I think, do I have ADHD or something? Because like you get so much information all the time from everywhere, your phone and like in everyday life traffic and phone, like answering a phone, a text or an email and taking photos and just you need to clean all that stuff up and you need to actually take your time and breathe and let some stuff go
Yeah.
and let that sink in and yeah, those rituals and habits, making your bed in the morning or wiping down counters, declutter step by step, like teaching them how to declutter, how to do it, little by little, like one shelf at a time. Don't do too much. Just do one and then, you know, put like with like stuff, look through, put the trash away. A lot of people don't even put their trash away, that stuff that needs to be trashed or single socks and holes in socks, holes in
Yes.
wear that can be easily tossed, So there's different ways of approaching clutter. And so I want to teach the different ways. You could go as you go. Like some people declutter as they go, like for me, because my house is pretty much in order. But decluttering will never end. It's almost
No. Yeah.
your hair, like your hair is growing and you need to groom it. And that's kind of like with your stuff. You're constantly accumulating stuff. So it's just natural that you have to also find a way to incorporate letting go as a normal thing. It can't be only special because it's like a constant turnover. So yeah, we have to just kind of like learn how to do that. A lot of times we only know how to shop and to accumulate or collect.
Yes.
But we also do need to learn how to let go and that it's okay to let go, you know?
Yeah. I love that. I love the concept of letting go as freedom because it's so much. Gosh, it just resonates so much with the journey through sobriety and personal development overall, right? For our lifespan, we will be accumulating and letting go,
Yeah.
both physical stuff and mental stuff. We will be resurfacing baggage from, ancestors, families.
Mhm.
We'll constantly be kind of doing that delicate dance of accumulating and letting go. And so
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
such a beautiful connection there. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you if they want to reach out, request services, or just kind of
Sure.
see what you're working on?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram and it's Now Organizing is my handle.
Mhm.
But I also have a website, noworganizing.com. And so either way, you can find me, or you can email me at info@noworganizing.com as well. If you just want to shoot me a message or, pick my brain about something, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. I would love to.
Yeah.
So don't be shy.
That's so awesome. I love that. Yeah, I recommend following you on Instagram. You have lots of great content, and it's so inspiring to me and just reminds me, that to stay organized. It reminds me of how helpful it is for my mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Viete.
Thank you. It was so nice meeting you and
Yes.
being on your show.
Thanks for tuning in. You can find me on my website at katevitella.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Kate Vitella. I would love to hear from you. Any feedback or questions, shoot me a note. So until next time, peace within and bullshit out.